Vaseline has had its fair share of controversies through the brand's history, including environmental concerns, links to animal testing, and so many other issues. But the latest controversy they've been involved in might just be the dumbest one they've dragged themselves into. Not because it isn't important, but because it was so unnecessary and could have been avoided so easily. Though some might say that the whole thing can be blamed on Tyra Banks, the ridiculous story also involves a French artist, Michael Jackson's glove, and a brand that was desperate to chase TikTok trends. So today I want to discuss exactly why Vaseline did what they did and why it should have been obvious that it wouldn't end well for them. So what actually happened? In May of 2026, a digital artist called Name Jr., I believe it's pronounced, accused Vaseline of stealing his artwork, altering it with AI, and using it in an ad without his permission. So a month earlier, he shared a new poster on Twitter and Instagram that he had created for the movie Michael. It was his version of what he thought the poster should have been, which he created himself. And as you can see, it featured an image of Michael Jackson's iconic rhinestone glove. And at first everything was fine. He got the normal reaction to his amazing artwork and the feedback that a lot of his posts get, praising his talent and generally loving what he had done. Everything was pretty normal for a few weeks. And then Vaseline went and posted what many thought looked like a clear ripoff of Name Jr.'s work. Now, as you can see, Vaseline's post consisted of a glove that looked suspiciously similar to Name Jr.'s design, changed slightly so it's holding bedazzled versions of Vaseline products. Now, it's not completely clear when exactly Vaseline made this post, and it's been taken down since, but it looks like it was sometime in early May. By the 9th of May, Vaseline's post had come to the attention of Name Jr., and he shared a post just before 11 a.m. comparing the images, saying, "Vaseline stole my Michael poster, modified it with AI, and turned it into an ad. I'm shocked." Now, I'm not going too much into whether Vaseline definitely stole Name Jr.'s image or whether they definitely used AI to alter the image, as I'm not an expert in either of those things. But I think they did. And there are other people online going into detail about why they think Name Jr.'s claims are accurate, pointing out things like the placement and the size of gemstones, the stitching matching up, where the sparkles are placed, the weird shortening of the fingers in the Vaseline image, and so many other aspects that people believe point to the image being stolen and being put through an AI image generator. I mean, look at them for yourself and come to your own decision. But from what other people who seem to know what they're talking about when it comes to AI and digital art have said, it does seem extremely likely that Vaseline did use Name Jr.'s image and that they did use AI to alter it. I mean, it's suspiciously similar, and AI just has that certain look, doesn't it? There's a kind of digital art that Name Jr. is known for, and then there's whatever the fuck AI is. It just looks odd. It just looks weird. And the way things have unfolded since do kind of support that. So it makes sense that Name Jr. followed up his first post with a statement saying, "Vaseline stole my work. Vaseline stole a poster I created for the movie Michael, modified it with AI, and then used it to create an advertisement. My work was used without my permission. A creation is still a creation. An artist's work deserves to be respected." And it didn't take long for Vaseline to take notice and go into damage control mode, deleting the post pretty quickly. By 6 p.m. the same day, so just 7 hours after his first post calling Vaseline out, Name Jr. posted again, saying, "Vaseline removed the post following my statement. However, taking down the post does not erase the facts nor the responsibility that comes with using an artist's work without authorization. I'm speaking up because this kind of situation can happen to any artist. Creative work deserves to be protected and respected." And a lot of people have pointed out that the way Vaseline reacted to the accusation just seems to reinforce the idea that Vaseline stole the work and did use AI to generate their own image, because if they weren't guilty, then they wouldn't need to get rid of the evidence. They could show all the artist's work, the original artwork, like to show it's just a coincidence. But It clearly wasn't, and shortly after removing the post, Vaseline gave a brief statement saying that they were working to understand what happened. But as far as I can tell, they haven't issued any kind of apology, either to their customers or to Name Jr. himself, and haven't openly admitted to doing anything wrong. Unsurprisingly, it doesn't look like there's been any further statement or update from them since. So unfortunately, it looks like Vaseline is just doing their best to sweep the issue under the rug, deleting the post and basically pretending like it never happened. It's been over a month since they said they were looking into it. It doesn't take a month to work out what happened. If you were really trying to work out how this all came about, you just call your marketing team and ask them. So it seems pretty obvious to everyone that Vaseline is just hoping this whole thing will go away, just like they probably hoped that nobody would even notice in the first place. But that was their first real mistake here. We all know by now that this kind of thing isn't uncommon. Big brands have been stealing from artists and basically anyone smaller than them for a long time now. The internet has arguably made it even easier for them in the last couple of decades because everyone's artwork and ideas are online for everyone to see. Not that long ago, a situation like this might have passed by with barely anybody noticing, but people probably wouldn't have seen the original artwork because artists didn't often have very large public platforms like they do now. But everything being online also means it's easier for people to catch brands doing things that they shouldn't be doing, and it's easier for word to spread wildly about it, which is part of what makes it so ridiculous that Name Jr. is a person they chose to steal from, allegedly steal from. Listen, Name Jr. may not be a household name, but Name Jr. is a fairly well-known digital artist who spent years building his very recognizable style and a loyal audience online. He's collaborated with popular French rapper SCH, major brands like Disney and Marvel, creating a poster for Daredevil, Born Again, as well as posters for the Arcane Netflix show and the Electric State movie for Netflix in France. He is definitely not a nobody. He's built up around 200,000 followers across his various social media platforms. His original post on Twitter, when he first shared his Michael poster, has been viewed over 300,000 times. And on Instagram, it's got 181,000 likes. And the views and likes on this post aren't so high just because it was involved in a controversy. His other posts get similar numbers of views and likes, sometimes far more, on a regular basis. Some of his posts have millions of views. So it's not surprising at all when people noticed when Vaseline stole his art. He's not somebody nobody has heard of. What is surprising to a lot of people is that Vaseline actually thought that they would get away with it. Maybe it was because, I don't know, he's a French artist and best known in France, so they thought he'd be safe to steal from, allegedly steal. I don't know, but whatever their reasoning, it didn't work out for them at all, because after Name Jr. accused Vaseline of stealing his work, they received a flood of hate comments. At first on that specific post by the brand, but once Vaseline deleted it, people moved on to other posts that were posted around the same time, saying things like, "Where did you steal this one from? Can't spell Vaseline without A and I. And is this AI slop too?" Although I do imagine a lot of these commenters sending hate Vaseline's way were probably big fans of Name Jr., as you can probably tell, but I think a lot of them were also just people who were sick of brands using AI for everything and stealing from smaller creators. It's becoming so common now, and for some reason, brands don't seem to realize that most people hate it. So that was Vaseline's second main mistake, right? A lot of people hate AI these days and they aren't afraid to say it. The environmental issues surrounding AI are a big problem for many, but there are also other moral concerns as well as just growing fatigue around the use of AI. Part of the problem is that it's everywhere you look now. L'Oreal are now using AI to generate ads and product recommendations, boasting that they have their own generative AI content creation platform called Creale Tech. Shit name, where they say they can generate thousands of unique on-brand images, text, and videos for diverse platforms and global audiences. Just last year, they claimed that they were producing up to 50,000 images and more than 500 videos each month using their AI tools, literally flooding social media with AI-generated content full of strange-sounding voices and weird pronunciations. Estee Lauder, unsurprisingly, have been doing the same for their many brands, including Mac Clinique, La Mer, and Jo Malone. London. Too Faced also launched their first fully AI-generated ad campaign last year for their ribbon-wrapped lash mascara. That one doesn't surprise me, to be honest with you.
We were tasked to work on the first consumer-facing AI video at Estee Lauder. We picked ribbon-wrapped lash mascara. We collaborated with the Adobe team to work on Firefly, and we learned so much together. We're able to make Adobe Firefly the girliest tools we've ever had. I think that can be true for any brand at all if you have a strong enough DNA.
Even Penhaligon's did an awful AI ad that they pretty much very quickly deleted. It looked like shit. AI content looks like shit. And that's just a few of the examples out there. AI generated ad content is almost inescapable in the beauty world these days, and a lot of consumers are tired of it already. I'm not saying you can always even tell when something has been made with AI, but quite often you can. And to so many people, it just feels lazy. Like brands can't even be bothered to make a proper ad to sell you something. And especially when it comes to beauty, you want to see real results and how the product's going to work for you. You know, you don't want to see how it acts on something that doesn't exist. On top of the fact that a lot of AI content is shoddily made and annoying to listen to or watch, is also the fact that generative AI is generally trained on the work of actual artists, writers, and creators of all kinds, usually without their permission or any kind of compensation. It's stealing, and this is a huge point of controversy in a lot of creative fields at the moment. AI is something that's actively taking paid work away from artists, writers, graphic designers, wherever else AI is, including in the beauty space. And to add insult to injury, it's doing it by stealing their work and learning from it. Not everyone, but a lot of consumers aren't happy about this. We want to support artists and other creatives. We want something that was made by a human being, not by an algorithm or I don't know, whatever AI is. So just the fact that Vaseline used AI is bad enough for most people. But what makes it even worse is the fact that you can very directly see them, allegedly, ripping off one particular artist. It isn't just using an amalgamation of thousands or millions of different images it's learned from, it's copying one specific image that can be traced and found very, very easily. It makes it so much clearer to people that this is what generative AI is. It's stealing other people's work and pretending it's yours. I think that's why the backlash came so quickly this time round and why it got Vaseline to take down the post as soon as they realized that they'd been caught. Because people are annoyed enough when they can tell a brand obviously use AI to create something, but usually you can't point to the exact source that they stole it from. And this time they could, and they made it very, very clear that they weren't happy about it, and rightfully so. Over 14 million people have seen Name Jr.'s post comparing the two images and accusing Vaseline of stealing his work. Obviously, not all of them agree with the accusations, but most of them do. And not all of them are even going to be Vaseline customers, but out of 14 million people, I'm pretty sure there's a decent amount of people who would have bought Vaseline products before and might think twice about it now. So like, why would Vaseline even do this? It seems like such a pointless risk for something that wouldn't have benefited them at all, even if it hadn't led to so much backlash. I mean, if it backfires on them, then they damage their reputation with a lot of people. And if it all went okay, nobody noticed what they'd done, then what do they get? Do you know what I mean? Like one social media post, like who cares? Like they didn't even have to talk about Michael. Like what is really the benefit of this other than one post? It seems to most people that they probably thought that they wouldn't get caught, to be honest. Like this little French artist they didn't think anybody had ever heard of wouldn't find out or wouldn't be able to do anything about it. And pretty much every big brand seems to feel this huge need to use AI at the moment for anything they can. Vaseline is no exception, bearing in mind both Vaseline and their parent company Unilever have been openly using AI to generate marketing images, video, and text for a while now. And the reason for this is kind of obvious: money. And that's what I was going to say. Bearing in mind, this is Vaseline and Unilever. They have money for artists and campaigns. And how much money would they save on this realistically? It's nothing to them. Unilever has said that using AI content creation for their beauty and wellness trends like Tresemme and Vaseline has led to savings of 55% and allowed them to create content 65% faster. Okay, so maybe I stand corrected. That's obviously why they're using AI now. But how do they end up stealing, allegedly, an image of Michael Jackson's bedazzled glove and trying to use it to promote their own products? I mean, why that specific image? It might seem like a pretty bizarre thing for a beauty brand to do, but if you've been paying attention to TikTok, which I can't blame you if you haven't been, then it might seem obvious, but for some reason, bedazzled Vaseline is a TikTok trend at the moment. I'm not 100% sure why, but I blame Tyra Banks. If you are over the age of 30, then you might remember one of the more bizarre moments of the 2000s daytime television talk show, when on an episode of the Tyra Banks show, Tyra decided to give away bedazzled jars of Vaseline to audience members. It might not sound that interesting, but Tyra's unhinged presenting style has kind of made this a pretty iconic moment. A few years later, Vaseline did a collaboration with fashion designer Chris March to create limited edition Vaseline lip therapy jars covered in Swarovski crystals, which you could win in contests and giveaways. Since Tyra's legendary giveaway and the Swarovski crystal, am I saying that right? Is it I don't care. Since that collaboration, there have always been people making their own DIY bedazzled Vaseline jars or even selling them on places like Etsy. I'll be honest, I want one. I don't know why, because of Tyra Banks. It's something that's gone in and out of fashion occasionally over the last couple of decades, but at the moment it's definitely hitting another peak in popularity. And this time we have TikTok to thank. Again, the platform is full of people bedazzling basically any everyday object at the moment, but Vaseline jars is definitely one of the more common ones. It's part of this whole like elevated mundane objects trend that's going on TikTok at the moment. And I think Vaseline coming back into relevance in the recent years, the whole slugging craze has helped make it one of the go-to items for bedazzling. But this is where the brands come back into it, because these days brands, especially beauty brands, seem to be obsessed with jumping on any trend they possibly can. They want to seem like they're like part of the internet culture, like they're in on the joke, because they think it will make them feel more relatable, especially with younger people. I always say when brands do these like memes and internet trends, it's like your fun auntie, like trying to join in on a sleepover. It's like, you appreciate it, but it's a little bit embarrassing. But to be fair, it does work a lot of the time, but also leads to some kind of strange or even morally questionable marketing attempts by brands, like Clinique releasing their own NFTs, Elf Beauty featuring Matt Rife in an ad because they thought he was still popular, or Vaseline trying to capitalize on the fact that a Michael Jackson biopic was released and an artist made a cool poster for it. Sometimes it works out and a brand goes hugely viral or manages to build a presence on social media that makes them a mainstay amongst younger consumers, but often, as is the case this time, it backfires spectacularly. It's also becoming increasingly annoying to a lot of people. We can't have any trends or any type of internet culture without brands trying to worm their way in and use it as a way to market themselves. As we've seen today, it's even gotten to the point where an artist just making his own movie poster just because he wants to isn't safe anymore. I guess you can't blame Vaseline for wanting to try and connect with the kids, you know, and to try and make their brand seem a little more glamorous or aesthetic. For most of its history, Vaseline was about as practical as a product could get. It was just a basic thing everybody had, and it was used for things like dry and chapped skin, lips. It wasn't exciting in any way. Slugging gave them a taste of being seen as something a little bit more interesting. And suddenly they were part of the Korean skincare routines. They weren't just for preventing dry lips, they were an important step in getting glass skin, despite not being Korean. Vaseline was seen as a bit of an affordable beauty secret rather than just an everyday product. You know, Marilyn Monroe did that, but then everyone forgot about that. Slugging brought it back. Since then, they've managed to cement themselves as a popular skincare brand with younger generations, partly because slugging is still pretty popular, and partly because they've successfully launched new product lines in recent years, and partly because they jumped on the trends as much as possible when they had the opportunity. In fact, things seem to be going so well for the brand in recent years that Vaseline made over 1 billion euros in 2023 and have continued to grow from there. Which begs the question, can they really not afford to just pay an artist for their work? I get that companies will always just want to make as much money as possible and save where they can, but even if they're using AI for the bulk of their marketing, which I don't think they should be, but even if they do, surely just in this instance, they could have spared a tiny proportion of their 1 billion euro turnover to pay Name Jr. for his work. Or at least hire another artist to create your own design, or even just get someone to wear a rhinestone glove and fucking hold their hand like with their products in, and take a photo of it and credit Name Jr. I don't know, surely they've got the budget for that. People are getting tired of brands constantly taking and taking. It's particularly hard to accept when they're making such ridiculous amounts of money. When they're reducing costs by sacking staff and shoving a bunch of shoddy AI looking ads at us when they look like shit. And when they're stealing from artists right in front of our eyes. Allegedly. But let me know how you feel about all of this. Do you think Vaseline are guilty, or are people being unfair? Is AI something we're just going to have to accept from brands nowadays? And most importantly, when was the last time you bedazzled something?